Hi everybody, I am Neta and I want to talk to you today about how we use AI algorithms to detect suicidal messages over the internet. So, everybody's talking, everybody's online, but what exactly are we saying when we use specific words? So we all kind of know it in our guts that the intent isn't really carried in the words that you say, but rather it kind of hides elsewhere. So let's take a look at these two examples. You have the left one that is using all the, say, right indicators to indicate a suicidal situation. They are saying the end of me and I will die, and of course all caps, and they describe a plan for what needs to happen to get the writer to die. But then the right one has none of these mentioned features. It has nothing alarming, but yet you can sense, in the tone that there's something there that needs to grab your attention. So I have made it my goal to capture this something that grabs you, and to create technology that detects that automatically. So hi again, I am Neta Snir. I'm a natural language processing expert, and my special skill is consulting to early stage companies on how to build great NLP products. But you should also know that I have volunteered in an online helpline for 7 years. That means that I got to read, like manually monitor hundreds of texts posted over the internet daily, and to actually search for the ones that are indicating that someone is going to kill themselves. So that was my job, and I want to share with you today everything that I was triggered to learn back then. Right, so why is it even hard? Like, why is it hard to know when someone is suicidal, right? We already have the DSM, the Disorder Syndrome Manual, which is a book that doctors use in order to evaluate whether a person is experiencing specific syndromes or not, and parameters that are correlated with suicidal behavior. We all know them. It's depression and probably lack of ambition and social disassociation, but these are all not available to you when you come to evaluate the level of risk that someone is exposing over the internet. So you can't use that, your intuitions and everything you've learned, you can't use that. What do you have? Now, we're coming to this need of defining an internet manual of emotional behaviors, right? Like a new book. So here's what I have been working on. A system that monitors online activity and detects high-risk situations based on pre-learned features of online behavior, right? So you have end-to-end system, and here are the four major components of this system. Well, you have firstly scraping and monetization, right? You need to be able to collect the data, preferably in real time, and to comply with the security and privacy standards. Next, you have NLP models, which is my area of expertise. You want to be able to convert raw textual data into actionable categories. And then on top of that, you have multimodal detection. This would be the machine learning models that will enhance NLP models with integrated variables of different types, not only textual. And then eventually real-time alerting. Obviously, you want to have effective reporting to emergency care or otherwise you're not really doing anything. So let's go in these four components one by one. Well, first thing is, what kind of data are you analyzing? So many content platforms will collaborate with you in order to maintain platform health, right? It means they are marking themselves as a safe place for their target audience. They could be websites, social networks, or other content owners that will actually give you the data. But then, if you don't collaborate with any of these owners of content, you will have to collect your own data, which I will mention again. This will have to be done in compliance with privacy and security standards, as it's the domain of mental health, which is highly regulated, as it should be. So next we have machine learning models. NLP models would usually be more about processing textual data in order to find discourse information. So you would like to get the topic of the text and the intent of the writer, and then sometimes coherence across the text or previous text. And then you want to find sentiment, significant entities. You want to be able to tell if they're mentioning important, names, locations, tools, or whatever is significant in your domain. And then we have multimodal systems, again, integrating various types of inputs. But the task here is to really not only process the text, but rather to find out whether it matches like the environment, like the hub that it was posted, like published on. So you want to study the features of the hub, like the platform, and some website would enable personal designing of your own page. So sometimes colors and, designing information, pictures, GIFs, emojis, background will give you a lot of actually sentimental information. On top of that, you could modeling the number and distribution of comments, likes, shares, or whatever feature is enabled on the specific platform that you research. And of course, metadata is always useful whenever you use machine learning models. Now, finally, real-time alerting. Early detection is only effective when you have a robust reporting mechanism. That means that the output of the AI models that you're building needs to interact with the emergency systems, like locally, hospitals, police stations, probably suicide prevention centers, or depending on the end client. Could be parents, could be a parental control app, whatever the task is. You want to connect the ends. So that's like an overall review of the system. Let's take a deeper look at what the actual NLP algorithm is doing. So this is a post that my research algorithm pulled out. I'll give you just like a second to look at it. So it's a woman, and we know that she's married, and she's a mother of 4, right? Although she doesn't say the word kids or husband, she's been very clear to the human reader, right? Because she's saying that she's trapped in a violent relationship. You can really sense the trap that she's in. But to an algorithm, this text isn't as easy to parse as it is for a person to understand. I mean, she's missing many pronouns. She refers to a man without mentioning who he is, not even once. And she's using a lot of words, but many of them are actually repetitive. So there's little information compared to the length of the text. She's actually saying the same thing over and over again. So I want to offer you a few features of this text that are measurable and machine readable, just to show you what I use to train my algorithm on texts like these. So, well, we have real quickly short sentences. You know, you can compare the average length of sentence in every post to average length of emotionally neutral text, right? So you'll see that they're shorter or longer whenever someone is experiencing an emotional storm. Missing pronouns would be words like he, me, and I. They are grammatically required way more times than they are actually appear. To get that, you can use part of speech taggers and syntax parsing, of course, and to count and to see how much off the person is. And then repetition. Repetitive representation could be of a specific word, like in this case, hit or hitting, which you could get by stemming the verbs. But also, it doesn't have to be like a user doesn't have to repeat a specific word. They can repeat a concept, because many times you'll see that when someone is really, as we said, like just trapped in this emotional storm, they will convey this spiral pattern of talking and writing. So they will constantly repeat of the same concepts. So to get your clusters of similar concepts or similar words, you could use word2vec or semantic graphs or your favorite clustering method. You would probably need to create that depending on the domain that you work in. And the sentiment is negative, of course. Just to leave you with a few more features you might want to throw in if you're building a classifier like mine. You could probably use taking a look at the style, punctuation, white spacing, emojis, like the writing, the style of the writing, you know, whether they have headlines and information like this. And then you have structure. We mentioned before repetitions. Also, I find it significant that many times when people are actually intentional about hurting themselves, they would make a list. So it could be a form of a list. It doesn't have to be listing objects, but it could list feelings or events that are causing this to happen. And then also any abnormal distribution of time and temporal phrasing. You know, sometimes you'll see a text that is entirely written in future tense or, you know, past tense, and without any present or without normal distribution and balance of the tense. That will also be indicative. And so you could also consider grammar. You know, are they using reasonable grammar? Are they missing argument, as we mentioned? And if you track specific users over time, you could actually use the notion of deteriorating grammar to detect like risk increasing. And then eventually counter features. Some features are actually decreasing the probability of an actual risk. So for example, when someone is asking for comments or replies, or they want to interact with the readers, that will kind of lower the level of risk per my research. And then also conditioning the act of suicide or binding it with future events will also give you the same effect, counter features. And I am afraid that that's all the time that we have today. Thank you so much for joining me, and please contact me if you have any questions. I am Neta. Thank you. Bye.